Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more geography now. This time, Liberia, the nation colonized by African Americans because America thought the solution to its racial divide and all these issues, and also to, I guess, a way to apologize for slavery was send them back like decade. Dog is barking. Hold on. Let my dog finish barking for a sec here. Okay. Uh, you know, after decades, century plus of them no longer living in that region, they thought, you know, they could totally go back there and assimilate into that culture after they had made their own unique African American culture. Because the whites of America were like, we want America to be white. I wonder how much in Barbie is going to talk about that, because definitely the colonization of Liberia is based around that stuff. Now, I may be wrong in some parts, maybe a little bit mistaken and stuff, may not have the full contextual picture of colonization of Liberia. So of course, with that, I am willing to be stood corrected. Y'all correct me in the comments anyways when I say something wrong, so I have no problem with it. Fucking correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, from what I know of Liberia off the top of my head, it's that stuff I said. Because Barbie usually avoids topics like that, so I'm curious if he will cover it. But before we dive in, I don't know if I already said this, make sure you check out the links in the description box below. I would love you to join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, my fellow American geograpeeps. America, do you realize that our country kind of has like a long-lost, estranged African stepson? Yeah, we really need to visit and follow up with him more, because we kind of did, in a sense, create him. I'm just saying.
It's time to... I don't know, it sounds like an American thing. Set up a government in a foreign place and then just abandon it. Geography. I don't think there's anything more American than that.
No! Hey everyone, welcome to Liberia, the US's little experimental African resettlement project, and one of the only two nations in Africa that never got colonized.
I beg to differ.
Okay, you tried to colonize us for like 5 years, but that doesn't really count for colonization. In many ways, Liberia is incredibly unique on how it became the way it did. No other African state has their type of story, and it all begins on a little place called the Pepper Coast. Let's begin.
Bum bum bum.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Unfortunately, my first impression of Liberia came from the movie Lord of War, in which, like most Hollywood movies, portrays Liberia in a complete war-torn mess. On top of that, the whole Ebola crisis happened.
What's funny is before recording for today, doing part of my morning routine that I do, I was going through the TikTok, what them youngsters use. And fucking a clip from the Lord of War showed up. That's fucking funny. That timing is weird. The world is weird.
Which made things even worse, which is why Liberia is like the perfect place to visit right now. I have to ring the tripster bell once again. Everybody still thinks this place has Ebola, so they try to avoid it, which means no annoying tourist crowds. The exchange rate is amazing. You could potentially have like an entire beach to yourself. People are friendly and like nobody knows about it. It's like Africa's best kept secret, which I just ruined. Oh shoot. First of all, Liberia is located in West Africa, bordered by Guinea, the Ivory Coast, and Sierra Leone, as well as the Atlantic Ocean to the southeast. The country is divided into 15 counties, with the capital Monrovia, which by the way is named after American President James Monroe, located in the upper west coast of the country. By the way, the flags of the Liberian counties are notoriously famous for being kind of funny looking. CGP Grey does a great podcast explaining how they kind of look like they were made out of micro...
Man, it'd be great if I could watch CGP Grey, but I won't. For those that may not be aware, CGP Grey struck down, he didn't, do a copyright claim on, on my videos, on several of my videos. I still have a few that are up. So I don't know why the fuck certain ones weren't struck and why certain ones were. But anyways, CGP Grey also then, and he did this recently to the larger Historian Reaction YouTube channel. What's their name? I don't watch reaction videos. Uh, I forget their name. But CGP Grey also struck their videos down. I don't know how many of his were struck, but I think I had like 7 or 8 that got hit. And they were ordered to be taken down, or I would, because of the amount that were being ordered to be taken down, if I said no, my channel would have been gone. Like that. Like Thanos snapped it, gone. Everything, oof, deleted. So, I took them down without challenging it. So yeah, no. I'm someone that's like very pro and kind of anti copyright to a certain extent. I'm very pro like just let, like, when it comes to creation and things like that, just let it be out in the open and stuff like that. As long as someone isn't clearly and blatantly just trying to rip off of you, like, it. I'm very like open about fucking the, I don't know what the word is. Public domain. I don't know. It's not, public domain's not the right word for it, but it's the best one I can come up with off the top of my head right now. So like, yeah, I'm very, when it comes to like art and things like that, with some of course exceptions. Because obviously you want people to feel that their work is protected, that their source of income is protected. Fucking even Mr. Beast, the most successful YouTuber in YouTube history. This motherfucker is like, yeah, no, he doesn't even strike people that literally steal his videos and upload them elsewhere, because he understands how the internet works. Even if someone outright steals your content and uploads it somewhere else, yes, you may have a small loss in revenue, but if that, say, video were to blow up, that is ultimately going to drive an audience in your direction, and you're going to benefit in the long term from people stealing your content. This is turning into a rant about copyright and creation protection. I think it was Neil Gaiman, who, I don't know how many years ago this was, but he was talking about people, pirating his books, right? And his argument was the people that pirate the books are the people that don't have access to libraries and don't have the ability or the money to order your book and get it in their hands, right? Because most of the world does not have library access like the USA, which the USA could be better about library access in a lot of parts of the country. But we do have a fairly decent job at it. Or access to the internet and the means of reading it. Now, a lot of people in the world do have access to the internet, and through that they can pirate. Because maybe Amazon doesn't sell to them, or their government doesn't allow Amazon to operate, or however. Or maybe they just don't feel comfortable spending some money on someone they don't know if they're going to enjoy the work of. So they pirate it. And fun fact, this comes from that Neil Gaiman video, I believe. Pirates are actually more likely to support you financially, because if they take your content, they get it, the free version of it that they pirated, they enjoy it, guess what they're likely to do? They're going to recommend it to other people, and they're going to then buy your future product, because they already like, I read this thing for free, I enjoyed it, boom, I have trust in the creator here, I'm going to go support that creator financially. Now, of course, there's always going to be a small percentage of pirates that will never support someone financially. And that's okay, because the wider margin are not like that. Oh, anyways, yeah, there's my fucking rant on fucking copyright and stupid shit like that. It's like, obviously I have a bias as someone that's a reactioner. But also this is how I feel like when I get my book published. I probably shouldn't say this in case I end up working with a publisher or something, but it's like I've talked about this. I think in a comment section in my book, or in a previous video, I mentioned I'm probably not going to be, if I do decide to go through with the Kickstarter, I am not going to be doing selling the physical stuff through the Kickstarter. I'm not going to have physical things for people outside of the USA because of costs and me just being new to it all. So like, if someone were to fucking, even though I'm going to be offering the audiobook, if I do the Kickstarter or the audio, the ebook at a pretty low cost, even at like sometimes $5 for like, I could have a meal for $5, if someone's like, I'd rather, pay for a meal with my $5 instead of give the $5 to an author's Kickstarter for their first book, and then I'll just pirate the book later on. Like, I can't blame you for that. I'm not gonna be upset about that. Fucking eat food, be healthy, get your meal, be sustained, be nourished. Support me later if you are able to, or support me through watching my videos, right? Like, there are so many ways in our modern age that we can show support to people that allows them to, you could kind of like view it as a way of repaying or paying off a debt. I don't know. Like, say you pirate something from someone, you're like, okay, to pay this off, I'll maybe just I'll recommend their videos, watch it, recommend the book, something like that. You can do, there's just so many ways, like, copyright pisses me off because, honestly, what you need copyright for is you need copyright to protect yourself, the smaller person, from the large corporations. That's essentially where I stand on copyright. It's to protect the small people, to fight back against the large corporations when the large corporations try to steal from lesser known people because they think they can get away with it. And a lot of the time, they do get away with it because fucking shit sucks. But yeah. Rant over for now.
Paint. We'll talk more about it on Flag Friday. The largest cities after the capital, Monrovia, are Baranga and Kakata.
There's a place called Sasstown.
The two busiest international airports are Spriggs Payne, which is literally like downtown in Monrovia, and Roberts International in Harbel, which is the airport most people arrive in when flying to Liberia from abroad, even though it's about 25 miles or 40 kilometers away from downtown Monrovia. Otherwise, you might be better off hitching a boat ride along the coast to one of the 4 main harbors: Monrovia, Buchanan, Greenville, or Harper. Those towns sound so American. Greenville, Buchanan. Oh, these guys. Otherwise, some notable places of interest might include the strange rock formations in Sasstown, the giant footprint in Pinyan, the National Museum, Centennial Pavilion, the Sacred Heart Cathedral, the Lofa Rainforest, surfing at Roberts Spot, Sapo National Park, Mamba Point Arts District, Libasa Eco Lodge, Kapatawi Waterfall, and Chimpanzee Island in Marshall. And the best part is, there's like nobody crowding around these places. Hey, Ken.
Yeah?
Go on your phone, go to Skyscanner, check out flights from LAX to Monrovia. How much do flights cost?
Can you guys move on to the next segment, please? Some people want to learn stuff.
Bum.
Shh. Just don't tell me how to do my job. All right? Okay, good. Okay. So anyway, Liberia was originally called the Pepper Coast by the Portuguese when they spotted the Malagueta peppers that grew there. First of all, the country is made up of 3 main physical regions: the flat coastal mangroves and swamps and valleys, the small rolling hills inland, and the tallest peaks in the North Lofa County, where you can find the tallest mountain, Mount Wuteve, in the Guinea Highlands. Nearby, the longest river, the St. Paul, comes from the Guinea border, meandering all the way to the Atlantic by Monrovia, where just a skip away you can find the largest lake, Lake Piso, a brackish water lake. Brackish water, what does that mean? Noah, explain.
All right. In the world of water bodies, a body water that contains any level between 0.05 to 3% salinity is considered brackish. In the case of Lake Piso, a small inlet, it connects the ocean, allowing salt to enter.
Awesome, great job, Noah.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, actually, you made a mistake. The longest river isn't actually the St. Paul, it's the Kavala River that goes along the border with the Ivory Coast.
Okay,
Just
okay,
thought you
no,
should
that's
know.
good enough. That's good enough. Okay, just
Okay, how about I just all this walk out of frame?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It rains a lot in Liberia. They have a saying in Liberia: by the rain or by the sweat, either way you will get wet. Where have I heard that before?
By the rain and by the sweat.
Right? You're gonna get wet.
Basically, Liberia has 2 seasons, dry and wet. But even in the dry season, it's still incredibly humid, so you're never going to be completely
Yeah.
dry.
Oh, well, it looks like I'll never visit Liberia. I can't do humidity.
Resource-wise, Liberia is kind of like a jackpot country, even though they only have 1 national park, Sapo, the 2nd largest tropical rainforest in West Africa. However, the national animal is, no shocker, the lion. Everybody wants the lion. Even the UK took the lion for some reason, and lions have never liked natural.
It's because the UK is a fucking colonizer, man. What do you expect? Of course they're gonna take a symbol that isn't native to their place and use it as their own. Duh. Did lions ever live in England? I don't think they ever went that far north. I know there used to be lions in Italy and Spain, I think. Maybe southern France. I'm trying to remember. I remember seeing a fucking map of it once of lion ancestral spreading.
Naturally inhabited that area anyway. Speaking of animals,
Wait,
the
what?
UK took the lion for some reason, and lions have never naturally inhabited that area anyway.
Okay, no, I'm right. Yeah, the lions have never been that far north.
Speaking of animals, let's address the elephant in the room, Ebola. Ken, was that joke distasteful?
Nah, I'd say you just barely grazed past the boundary.
Good enough! Yes, during 2014, there was an outbreak of the virus with thousands that ended up dying. After months of pretty much quarantining and treating the entire nation, the outbreak was contained, and after passing a 42-day time period, the nation was declared Ebola-free in January 2016 with heightened surveillance. The whole ordeal left Liberia stigmatized and economically shunned. This was not what they needed. Nonetheless, through some smart decisions, they moved forward and continued rebuilding. Unemployment is only at about 3.5%. Exports like timber and rubber are at their highest. GDP growth has overall risen, peaking at 9.4% in 2007, and by 2011, they became one of the fastest growing 20 economies in the world. They even dramatically reduced their external debt through commercial debt relief from 4.5 billion to 222 million. That's like
Nice.
deleting 17/18ths of your debt. That's like Noah deleting my weight and replacing it with this messenger bag. Good for you, Liberia. Granted, they still need to do some work. Blackouts are not uncommon, and infrastructure and civil engineering projects are still in progress. But for a country coming out of 2 civil wars and Ebola, not bad. Oh yeah, we usually talk about
2 civil wars?
food. Food! Now, as a nickname hint, Liberians are famous for making their food spicy. They love spice. It's even said that people all over, but especially from the Kru tribe, put small bits of pepper in their kids' noses and mouths to kind of get them to build a tolerance. All right, that just about covers that. Moving on to my
Wait, we're not gonna get any like signature dishes or anything that we're not. Oh, I'm a little disappointed by that, Barbie.
favorite part, the strongest trait for Liberia
wanna
has
see
to
the
be its
food.
story. It was like an experiment that actually ended up working, then kind of got glitchy, but then rebooted. First of all, the country has about 4.6 million people and is the only African state to have gained independence without major revolt. The largest of the groups in Liberia are the Kapele at about 20%, the Bassa at 14%, the Americo-Liberians come in third at around 11%, the Gribo at about 10%, and the rest are made up of most of the remaining 12 tribes, plus a few other non-Africans. They use the Liberian dollar, but accept US dollars. They use the A, B, C, and F outlets, and they drive on the
Damn right they do. The right side, the correct side. This bit is not stopping, motherfuckers.
right side of the road, and they are one of the only 3 countries in the world that uses imperial units instead of metric, just like the US and Myanmar.
Yeah, it's just us 3 against the world.
Yeah, baby.
We're in this together, guys.
Even though recently they've considered transitioning
No, don't do it.
into the metric system,
Oh, no, you don't. Get back on over here.
in Liberia,
His fucking southern is really good. But no, I still stand by the imperial because, like, you know, it's a foot away. Easily understandable measurement. Okay, a yard. I can't picture that. like that quickly. Gives me a couple seconds to like, okay, It's roughly a yard away, I guess. You know, it's more like a, you know, when you hear a foot, you're like, that's like a couple feet away. Oh yeah. When you hear that's like a yard or two away, you're like, yeah, I guess. You know, you're like, yeah, that looks like about a right estimate. A couple feet, you're like, damn right it is. It's more exact.
Liberia, the official language is English, but only about a fifth of the country speaks it properly. It's more common to hear Liberian colloqua, which is like a mashed up Creole-ish type of language that incorporates words from various tribal languages. For example, pem-pem, bigidi, chop, noko, and one of my favorites, swimara. It's been said that a standard American English speaker can listen really hard and maybe pick it up in about 2 weeks. Oh, and they always track extra sounds like o or ya on words. Right-o, not bad-o. Yeah, hello. It's kind of like Singlish with lo or la. Man, Liberia, you guys have a lot in common with Singapore. Like, have you ever met Singapore? Like, here, talk amongst yourselves. Like, yeah, hey, say hi to each other. As mentioned, Liberia has 16 main tribes, each speak their own language and dialect, specializing in their own unique customs and trades. For example, the Kisi tribe is famous for being rice farmers. The Day are known for being salt traders and carving wood masks. The Bassa are like the people of the forest and they're good at hunting. The Kapele are the largest tribe and they were the tribe that historically became slaves to the other tribes, so there's kind of like that stigma that they don't like having. The Vai are the people from the Mali kingdom that actually created their own script, making it one of the few indigenous African writing systems. The Kru are masters of sailing and fishing. Many work for the Coast Guard. The Mandingo and Gio and Mano tribes are like the Muslim tribes. And the Grebo are great fishermen. Now here's the interesting part. One thing that makes Liberia stand out from the rest of Africa was that the nation, at least in modern times, was resettled by freed slaves that were initially brought from the US and Caribbean in the mid-1800s by the American Colonialization Society. Okay, get ready because I'm about to go into story mode. Basically, if you were a freed slave in the US...
Okay, here we go. Oh, he's gonna talk about it.
In the mid-1800s, you had two choices. Stay as a disenfranchised individual and hope that over time society would get better for you,
Yeah.
or you could take your chances and sail to Africa and create your own society run by you and other freed slaves funded by the US government. In 1822, the first ship set sail, and over 4 decades, over 13,000 freed slaves were returned back to Africa, and an entirely new people group, the Americo-Liberians, were formed. Some of whom were mixed-race children of slave owners that had privileged upbringings and educations. It was strange, though, because essentially these new African-American colonialists were returning back to the continent of their ancestors, which was completely foreign to them. They didn't
This was what I was saying at the beginning.
initially get along with the indigenous people groups, and for a while clashes and fights broke out. Eventually the Americo-Liberians took power as the elite. They built their own infrastructure and government based off of the US system of legislation. They tried to build schools and churches to help integrate the natives, and after decades they finally gave birthright citizenship to the tribes. So in a sense, historically, there's always kind of been like this rift between the natives and the colonialists. Tensions eventually led to the first and subsequent second civil wars, and
Is that a dress? Is that person wearing a wig? Damn, they at least know how to have a civil war.
the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, caused by natives backlashing against the Americo-Liberian elite. Eventually, peace deals were signed, the most free and fair elections took place. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a Harvard-trained economist, won the presidency and became the first female president in all of Africa, and then George Weah was voted in to follow after her. The majority of Liberians, around 85.5%, identify as Christians, mostly Protestant, although indigenous belief systems are also practiced and sometimes synchronized, whereas about 12% are Muslim. Oh, and one more thing, from what I've been told, in Liberia, everyone likes to bluff, flaunting expensive clothes and accessories. They all have like the newest cell phones, even if they live in shanty houses. They even have a word for it, cheeky. Hey, but you know, we're all kind of guilty of trying to show off for making an impression to people. Last of all, a few famous people from Liberia or of Liberian descent might include people like Martin Delaney, Chris Bondi, India Ari, Saren Kaba Jones, Tamba Hali, maybe Oprah Winfrey, Kat Graham, and Louis Gossett Jr. A lot of those people though are like Americans of Liberian descent, but I guess it still kind of counts. Speaking of America and relations with them,
Bum, bum, bum.
Liberia is kind of like that kid playing on the swings that you walked up to on the playground because you wanted to say hi, but then the moment you got 2 feet away from them, they fall off and break their arms screaming in pain, so you're like, oh shoot, hi? Are you okay? First of all, within Africa, Namibia showed huge appreciation for Liberia's support for their liberation efforts and offering Liberian passports to help students study abroad. The Namibian Defense Force also stops by and stations themselves occasionally in Liberia. Sierra Leone and Guinea were like the really close cousins that suddenly got really mad because that one thing that happened in the 80s that they never really forgot. And by that I mean President Charles Taylor. Although issues have settled, they still kind of remember it and hold it against them a little bit. India really started to love Liberia after they gave their full-fledged support for India's stance on the the Kashmir dispute. In return, President Sirleaf was invited to India. They struck up multiple export and investment deals in things like engineering equipment, pharmaceuticals, and steel and plastics, which increased India's investments in Liberia by 4 times. When it comes to their best friends, though, Liberians always kind of go back to their 1800 roots and say the USA. Sometimes they even call themselves Little America, and the statement, "We will become America's 51st state," has even been a slogan in some presidential campaigns. Many of their former presidents were even born in the US. Even though tensions were built up in the 80s and 90s, the US is still the largest provider of investment and foreign aid, and they still take cultural and diplomatic cues from their stepdad. Overall, the two have a weird but somewhat functional relationship. In conclusion, nowhere else in the world do you find an African nation colonized by African Americans. It's just only in Liberia. Interesting, eh? Stay tuned. Libya is coming up next.
And that was Geography Now Liberia. This is the longest Geography Now reaction I think I've done in a hot minute. Huh. So, yeah. Went on a bit of a rant here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.